What's up, guys? Dr. Gooden here to talk to you about emotional intelligence and the Enneagram. How can we continue to learn more about ourselves and to better empathize with other people? And what is a great tool for doing that? Well, in this video, we'll go through what the Enneagram is, how it's been used over the centuries, why it's a little bit weird and hokey feeling, but how we can still use it as a valid tool for understanding ourselves and other people better. Now, remember, this is all part of our series of getting to know ourselves better, of self-assessment, of first understanding who we are in relation to God's calling on our lives so that we can go forward and impact the world through our vocation. Now, this is the final self-assessment tool that we will be using in this course, but just know that there are many others out there that are great for understanding different aspects and nuances of yourself and also for empathizing, that's how you say it, empathizing well with other people. So let's dive right in and learn more about the Enneagram. Now, emotional intelligence is a really important factor for interacting with the world and with those around us. It's comprised of a few different factors, namely self-awareness, motivation, social skills, empathy, and self-regulation. And all of these 5 factors really contribute to our understanding of our own emotions, and those of other people. Emotional intelligence is a person's ability to detect and recognize their own feelings, as well as those feelings of other people, and to respond to them in a rational way. Now, that last part, in a rational way, is really key here, because I know a lot of us can hear somebody else's emotions and then go immediately towards judgment, or to responding with our own emotions, or to amplifying the situation. And really, we want to instead consider that these emotions of this other person are valid and reasonable, and to be more curious about them instead of judgmental, or to be curious about them instead of trying to just fix them. And by responding with this rational curiosity, we can better engage with our coworkers, with our patients, with our superiors, with those under us who we are managing or leading, and this will lead to a better workplace environment overall. So you might be asking, Dr. Gooden, why do we have to do all of this self-assessment and understanding of ourselves? It seems kind of wishy-washy. And, maybe it is. Maybe talking about emotions is seen that way. But I think to really set you up to a great career after you leave college, after you leave the confines of this little bubble that you've been living in where people really care about you, it's going to be very important to understand yourself, what makes you tick and what makes other people tick, so that you can navigate these emotional waters in the workplace all the better. Now, there's an unfortunate trend where each subsequent generation of individuals, from boomers to Gen Xers to millennials, and then even to Gen Zers, although we don't have data on that yet, where each generation has a lower emotional IQ, or a lower emotional intelligence. And this is alarming in part because it means that we're sending students out into the workplace that don't fully understand how to interact with other people. This might be due to a number of reasons, spending all your time online or on the phone or digitally instead of with in-person interaction. One of the aspects of emotional intelligence is self-management, the ability to manage and monitor your own emotions and your response to those emotions. And we see that Gen X and then Gen Y especially, and then eventually Gen Z, will probably see this trend continue of having a lower ability to even just manage and regulate our own emotions. And so we really want to ask ourselves the question, how do we develop emotional intelligence? Well, here are some key pillars to developing emotional intelligence. So the 4 core skills involved in the development is identifying your feelings and those of others. So just even being able to name what you're feeling and what somebody else is feeling. Using those feelings to guide your own thinking and reasoning along with others. So I feel this way, and therefore I will make this decision. That doesn't mean you always act on your feelings, as we know from one of the great documentaries, Star Wars, according to Master Yoda. That's not the way to go. We shouldn't just act on our feelings, but we also have to understand how our feelings might change and develop as events unfold. So maybe we feel one way and then something takes place and we feel a different way. And why is that? What made that change? What made this other person change their mind about something? And then we have to manage to stay open to the data of feelings and integrate these into our decisions and our actions. So we need to make rational decisions with room for these feelings to have some sort of an input or say in our decision-making process. So it doesn't mean that we should be fickle and just go with whatever feels good in the moment. No, it's in fact the opposite of that. We should be analyzing, why does this feel good in the moment? Why does this feel right? Is it actually right? It would feel really good right now to punch this person in the face because they made me angry. But that's maybe not the right action. Instead, maybe let me assess why I feel so defensive, and then I can act in a different way that addresses the situation. And maybe this other person said that because of an emotion that they are feeling. So just recognizing those things alone, I know that's an extreme example, but recognizing those things will help you to avoid a lot of issues in the workplace and set yourself up to better understand your patients and your clients and your peers in the workplace. So a great tool to develop this is what's known as the Enneagram, okay? And you'll see this kind of weird symbol with these multiple points on a star in a circle, and it seems kind of hokey, it seems a little bit like voodoo or like some sort of a weird cultish religion, and maybe it is, and maybe it has been part of weird cultish religions at different times, but you know what? It's a great tool for understanding our own personality and what makes us tick. So the origin of the name Enneagram, it comes from the Greek word for 9, and then gram means something written down or drawn. So it's a model that posits 9 different key personality types. And although it seems like astrology, it's not. Although some people have joked that it's the Christian form of astrology, because a lot of Christian thinkers are writing about the Enneagram, and whole churches are doing studies about the Enneagram. And so, it's just another tool in the toolbox. It's not astrology, but we can joke about it, that it is a little bit weird. All that to say, we want to better understand ourselves. So let's get into it. The Enneagram was brought to the attention of the modern day world by the Greek Armenian spiritual teacher, George Ivanovich Gurdjieff, maybe that's how you say it, in the early 1900s. But the current typology was developed in the 1950s and 60s, kind of using a mystical Judaism and Christianity approach. But it attempted to integrate ancient thinking, ancient philosophical ideas with modern day empirical observations, and I think with a pretty good result. So the 9 different personalities in the Enneagram are supposed to be universal, and they apply equally to males and to females. And people don't really change from one basic form to another. Really, if you register as a 4 on the Enneagram right now, the romantic, artistic personality type, most likely as a kid you displayed those characteristics, and most likely as an older adult you'll display those same characteristics, even if you fluctuate a little bit in your mannerisms or in your outward-facing personality. Now, not everything in a type's description will apply all the time, because we are in a constant state of fluctuation and growth. You might portray some of the unhealthy tendencies of an Enneagram 8 right now, which I'm an Enneagram 8, or at least that's what I score highest in, which might be becoming defensive, or being overly prideful, or maybe going quick to argumentation instead of to cooperation. But over time, as you learn to live into that personality type, maybe you display some of the more healthy attributes. And it's important to say that no single Enneagram type is more important than another type. They are all equal in the sense that they're all useful in society, and they all have their own strengths and their own possible weaknesses. So the Enneagram is a powerful tool for developing emotional intelligence. With the Enneagram, we can know ourselves better, we can have more compassion on other people because we can understand at least a little bit of what's going on under the hood, and we can work effectively in a communal environment like the workplace. So each of us has a dominant type that is sort of our default setting. It's our motivational core. It's the driving mechanism behind our ego and our agendas and our motivations in life. And although the Enneagram style remains the same throughout our lifetime, these characteristics may soften or become more pronounced as we grow and develop. Now, by understanding the Enneagram, we can better understand not only our own propensities, but also other people's external behaviors, their underlying attitudes, characteristic sense of self, conscious and unconscious motivations, emotional reactions, defense mechanisms, etc., etc. So although I'm not going to go over all of the 9 patterns in this video, I will link to a description of them and you guys can check that out on your own time. So aside from the core Enneagram number or your core personality type, each person also has what are called wings. And this is a secondary type that you can tend towards. So for instance, I'm an 8 with a wing of 7. So I'm the, quote, challenger who likes to argue, but also will defend like a weaker person. And I tend to be kind of in your face, and I like to put things out there to ruffle feathers. That's the 8 personality type. But the 7 personality type is someone who enjoys spontaneity, and they live for new experiences, and they enjoy, fast-paced social interactions and the exploration of new ideas and events and locations. And so those are kind of my 2 dominant personality types. I'm an 8, wing 7. And most people will have some sort of wing that they can really identify as. So for instance, you could be a 5 with a wing of an 8, meaning that you primarily exhibit the attributes of a thinker, somebody who, my dad is a 5, or at least I think we've typed him as a 5, someone who loves to pour into knowledge and to study and to learn new intricate things, and tends to be a little bit socially aloof and reserved, but that's because they're in their own head, they're mulling things over, and they are people of few words, but when they do speak, it's usually something profound. So 5 wing 4, you tend to be a thinker, but then also have the romantic tendencies of the 4, where you are artistic and you have an idealized version of the world, and you tend to be somewhat nostalgic, and you feel your emotions and you value them, maybe even above your more logical reasoning. And so we all have a dominant type and a wing type. Now, the place to go to take a free Enneagram test is going to be the same website that we've been going to in this course, truity.com. So go ahead and head over there, take the free personality test, remember to log in, and then view your results. And let us know down in the comments what was surprising to you or what stood out to you. What did you learn about yourself, and how does this help you to better not only self-reflect, but also to learn to engage better with your family members or your future coworkers after you've learned more about each of those personality types. All right, guys, thanks so much for learning about the Enneagram with me and for learning more about ourselves so that we can be better positioned to serve and minister to other people in our vocation. I'll see you guys on the next video.